What's going on, guys? J. Curtis Strickland here, and you are now watching Tea and Fuckery. Before we get started, if you could do me a little favor, click on that subscribe button, click on the little bell for notifications, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. That's the best way for this channel to get any traction through the YouTube algorithm. Today on Tea and Fuckery, we have my good friend and longtime associate and co-collaborator on several different projects, including the New School of Art and Effect movie review podcast. We had a very short-lived podcast called Conway and Jay Talk Shit in L.A., and he's also directed his first film, a feature western. Also Stella Adler alum, too. Owen Conway, what's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, man? It's good to be back on a podcast with J. Curtis Strickland.
Oh my God, dude. I was thinking the other day about some of the podcast days between, the movie one and then the one we were doing, and I was just like, man, we had so many like crazy adventures and like
we really did have a lot of fun. It really was.
I loved it.
It was the and we were just talking about this before we started up. It was the labor intensive side of it that gets to me, the technical stuff. I mean, you get better at it as you go along, but it just becomes a job. And
it's arduous. Yeah. I wish I could just go on Fiverr and like get somebody to do this shit for me, but I don't trust anybody enough to edit it the way that I want them to.
Right.
So that always blows my mind. Like having a separate, I mean, does the director always sit in with the editor?
I wonder how that works. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a case by case thing. The Cullens are famous for always editing their own stuff and giving it to a pseudonym that escapes me at the moment. Roderick Janes. So you'll see in a Coen Brothers movie edited by Roderick Janes. That just means they did it and they didn't want their
name on
card with their names up there, because it's just like Joel Coen, Ethan Coen, Joel Coen, Ethan Coen. It looks ridiculous after a while. But then you'll have somebody like Scorsese works with one editor, as far as I know, and he's only ever worked with Thelma Schoonmaker, and they just have the long time history. They can, they know each
work
other's
well
style.
together.
They work, and he definitely is sitting in. He's probably not sitting in on every minute moment to moment thing, but he's definitely a big part of the process. It probably depends on the director and the project.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, sometimes the studios get control of them, and then it's completely out of the director and really the editor's hands at that point. So
that tends to be where the final cut goes through the studio, and it's usually the editor there is just like, I gotta do this.
Speaking of the Coen brothers, and since I've got you on this show, I know we've told the story on other shows before, but you were in a Coen brothers movie, weren't you?
I actually have a follow-up to that. That's really
no
funny.
way. Oh yeah, shit.
It's okay. Really bizarre. I swear to God, it sounds made up, but I might even be able to prove it on the video. I'll record it later. And that my brother, for Christmas, he got me, give me a second, I'll get the book.
Okay.
So he got me this book on the Coen brothers. It's really cool.
Nice.
And it's just a sort of coffee table book of sort of breakdowns of their various movies. And I can't prove it, but I think my leg is in one of the shots. One of these photos. I think it's my leg, dude. I swear to God, I know how that sounds.
It's so fucking meta, man.
It's bizarre. Here it is, Hail Caesar. Because I was there. I was there on the day that I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I was there on the day that Josh Brolin, I can't remember where it is in the movie, but he's walking through the lot. It's daytime. There's a big half like Roman statue that's being hauled away, and there's some guys in the background with rope hauling up a piece of marble or basic granite or something, and you can see like the back of one of the guys, and then you can see the back of a second guy, and you can see a downturned leg here, and I'm pretty sure this is me. Because that thing was so fucking heavy. I was literally putting all my weight into keeping that thing. I was just too small for the thing. They ultimately replaced me, but I think that's my leg.
Oh
And when you
wow.
see it, you're gonna laugh so hard, dude.
It's a
It's
super it's a
literally the
super meta
tiniest.
moment, huh? Like cuz it's
It's
like yeah, you got the book and there you are in the book, you know?
it's there's a highly likely chance it's me. It's either me or the guy they replaced me with.
That's awesome. That's
It
so
was, but
cool.
it's such a fucking I open a nice Christmas present for my brother, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm going through. I'm like, there's no chance. And then yeah, sure enough, it's that day, so I'm just out of frame. You know, if the photographer had just not cropped that specific, whatever. Story
It would
of
have been your big shot. No, I
yeah,
meant the story before that, the one about the girl that you met on the set there.
the girl I met. Yeah,
Your
no,
girl, yeah.
I
Your
I
girl.
I didn't know at the time that you're not supposed to make eye contact
Her
with
name's what? Oh no no no! I was gonna say
Scarjo.
Natasha Romanoff. Isn't that her
Oh,
name?
Natasha. Oh, yeah, yeah. Black Widow. Black Widow. Is she still Black Widow, or is she done with that? Probably
I
done
don't
with
know.
it.
I didn't even see that
Disney stuff.
shit. Yeah,
I watched some of it. It was okay. It was,
I like
Marvel's
that.
Marvel.
That actress that's in it. That Florence Pugh, the one that
She's
was in
fantastic.
Midsummer. Yeah, she's good.
Yeah, she's just so good. She's eminently watchable.
Yeah, I did. You watch Midsummer?
I did. I watched it a couple of times. I was obsessed with it there for a
It's
second. It's
so
just
fucked.
it's so fucked.
It's
And
beyond fucked.
but it's like kind of beautiful in a weird, fucked up way. It's a happy ending. It's a great horror movie. Just a fucking
Well, but
fantastic horror
here's
movie.
the thing, though. Here's the thing. Christian wasn't a bad boyfriend, or I mean, he wasn't an asshole. He was just kind of a bad boyfriend. Did he really deserve to be sewn up in some fucking bear guts and burned alive?
No, but I mean, yeah, I think had he been more of an asshole, it wouldn't be as effective, and the movie would lose its nuance. He was definitely an asshole, but not an unrelatable one. You kind of understood why he took her, even though he was ready to break up with her. You understood why he couldn't break up
Well,
with her at that point.
I think
Yeah,
even
I understood him. I didn't particularly like him, but I did
no,
understand.
I totally understood him. I
Yeah.
think he just wanted out of that relationship and he didn't know how to do it because she was just wrought with so much trauma and he didn't want to seem like an asshole. So he was just kind of like stepping on eggshells in order, like, that's supposedly how
Ari Aster's genius.
a Libra is just like, all right, I'm gonna fucking just stand over here and kind of pretend you're not in my fucking sphere anymore, and then hope you'll go away, you know. So,
Sort of passively aggressively just ease you out of the situation.
right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, it
At the
had to
same
happen
time,
for
it's
the
like
sake of the movie.
he can't be like, this horrible thing happens to her, which is so real in just a very just a very plausible thing that could
My
happen.
stomach turned when that part happened. I was like,
I
oh
mean,
Jesus.
Real, like, ooh, hits you in the belly.
Yeah.
And he's so good at that. He's so good at rooting horror in something that could
The part to anybody who's listening that we were referring to is, and this is a spoiler alert if you haven't seen Midsummer, but like the protagonist's sister ends up killing herself and her parents by what, asphyxiating them, suffocating
carbon monoxide. She runs a hose from the car to a
into their
mask on
room.
her face and then into her room.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was so fucked. I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ, this is."
And that happens in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
I know.
That's like the first 5 minutes.
And you're just in it. You're like, "Holy fucking shit," you know?
I'll give him credit. Like, anybody who's not in it, like, he gives you fair warning right up front that this is not this isn't going to be a feel-good ride.
There's nothing pleasant about his movies. It's nothing. There's no fucking levity whatsoever. It's just,
I mean, he tries, and there's moments I laugh because the tension is it's so palpable that laugh kind of just needs to pop out in certain moments. Like you didn't tell us there was a bear here. There's a bear here. And it's that was
Oh no
funny.
no no no
It
no
was,
no no no!
yeah,
I meant that. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm thinking more Hereditary because I guess there were some kind
Hereditary
of
is
funny beats in Midsummer. You know, like the
Hereditary
fucking
was,
Meet the
yeah.
Millers guy or We're the Millers guy or whatever. Like
Oh,
when he
Will
pisses on
Poulter.
the fucking
He's
tree.
so good, dude.
Yeah, he
He's
was
so
funny.
good, and his range unbelievable. I just watched Dope Sick on Hulu, and he plays just a completely, totally different character from that. First of all, he's a really tall guy. He
Yeah,
doesn't read that way on camera, but he's like really tall.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
No,
great
I
actor.
just I thought he was. I didn't know. I'd never seen We're the Millers, you know, and then like they just put him in that movie, and they're like, oh, it's the kid from We're the
So good.
Millers, you know, and then I was like, oh, that's like a funny
Miller is
movie, you
great.
know, and then somebody ended up wearing his face.
I really love. Yeah, that was. Oh,
That was a
there's
brutal
something.
scene too. That shit was fucking. I was like, oh my god.
There's something so primarily creepy about a detached human face on a stuffed straw body. There was something so creepy about that. Yeah, I thought about that for a while. That shit
Oh
stuck
yeah,
with me.
yeah. That was so
Just that
weird.
and then of course the two willing participants who supposedly aren't going to feel any pain, right?
Yeah, right. That's why that one guy was like,
Because
oh, I hurt, I
even
hurt.
even if you don't feel anything, you're watching your body burn and boil and char away into
Right.
nothing. It's going to be emotionally upsetting,
Yeah, I
certainly.
had that conversation with somebody the other day. I was like, would you rather burn to death or drown? I was like, I think I'd rather drown.
That's a tough one.
Well,
Drown,
because
I
think of
think
yeah,
too.
drown. Think about it with drowning. There's only like a few seconds of struggle until your oxygen just goes out, and then you just
Yeah,
boom, you know. And then,
yeah.
but like burning to death, like all that fire's got to get through your nerve endings and your flesh and shit. Like
I mean,
fuck
your hope
that.
would be that you would like asphyxiate on the
Yeah.
smoke before anything got too intense, but
What
yeah,
a
you're right.
pleasant
Drowning would,
conversation we're having.
yeah. This is my jam. Shit like this
Oh
is
man,
that's what
this
I'm
is
thinking
like
about.
too esoteric and would you
I'm gonna take off
rather?
my glasses just for the video feed, just because it's full of reflections, not
I
because
saw
I'm
you had the
vain.
green screen in the back there.
Yeah, for the have it up there for the old self tapes, ready to go, when anything comes in.
What do you
Though
use the green screen for self tapes for though? Like
it's just to
you
have a background, it's just to have something that honestly looks like semi-professional. Like you put
sure.
a little bit of time into it, but not too much time into it because people
That's
don't
why I
like
got
them.
this thing.
That thing's badass.
Dude, $30. 30
30
bucks.
what? Oh,
Made
I need
in
to get one.
China.
China, made in China. I
I
have my
could
little logo on the TV back there, but I don't
Oh,
think
do
it's
you?
gonna. I
Well,
think it's
I
gonna
mean,
read as
dude,
backwards.
I did not want to I did not
It's
want to go through
fantastic.
China for this shit, but like
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I was
I don't want to
for.
support Amazon, but I do all the time, every day, because you know why? It was it's particularly when I was making the movie, they they're reliable. They're fucking reliable.
Oh yeah.
Amazon. They just
Yeah.
are. And I know evil corporation and all that, but it's stuck. At the end of the day, it's like Walmart. If you need camping supplies at 3 a.m, Walmart's open,
It's
and they're
true.
not going to rob you blind for it.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I have, like, I mean, I'm a capitalist, and I had a little bit of a political shift within the past few years. I'm not opposed to, I don't want to say like monopolies, but like, if somebody can give it to me cheaper and more efficiently, and like they're kind of not exploiting their workers and whatnot, like I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's
so
hard. It's hard because yeah, I mean, I look, if I was wealthy, I would buy only organic foods, and I would drive an electric car, but most people don't really have that option. I mean, and even if you do, it's taking out of one pot to put into another. Something
pretty
suffers when you
much.
have a fixed budget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean like
Yeah.
you don't have that like fuck all money to just like yeah, I'm going to get 20 pounds of goji berries every week. Like it's just not feasible. I understand, and you know,
Right.
I don't know. Like I mean, and that's kind leaving LA like I was like trying to keep my head above water like within the past year there, especially with everything going on with COVID and everything. It was just
Man,
insane. Insane.
it must have been like a jungle, like more so than usual.
But
what I
you weren't
hear,
there
it's
when
like
it happened, were you?
I was not. No, I
Okay,
was not.
let
Thank
me tell you
God.
something, Owen. This was like, because I don't think I've really talked to you much since then. But like, this was
I've been
one of the
in a
most like,
cave.
I mean, like, we'll get into it, but I'll tell you. But like, okay, so like I was on Robertson Boulevard in Beverly Hills, right, and there was nobody, nobody. You've
That
seen
is
28
spooky.
Days Later, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is
That's what it
frightening.
was like. We will never see anything like that ever again, save short of like a nuclear fucking holocaust. You know, because it was like I was sitting there walking around. I was like, "There's no people, there's no cars, and I'm in a major metropolitan city." I'm like, What fucking like movie am I living in right
It's
now?" You
insane.
know.
I remember seeing like Instagram pictures of that and stuff like that, and just being like, unbelievable.
It made for some really like I feel like if there had been like a script that I'd put together and like I had like you know, a crew and people, like you could have really shot some interesting things during that, and I'm sure some people
Oh,
did,
I
you
bet a
know,
bunch of people did. Yeah,
just
yeah. I
taking
bet there's
advantage of the lack of,
there's
you
probably a
know,
shitload of stock footage on sale right now of an empty Hollywood Boulevard on
that's
the internet. I bet
that
you
is a
there is.
fucking brilliant, you know, and I
I bet
should
you
have
there
thought
is.
of that. I should have thought of fucking getting a drone and just going and shooting fucking
Yep.
footage of like the 101.
I mean, you're not going to make a whole hell of a lot. I don't think. I
Are
don't
you
know
kidding
anything
me?
about
Like
kids, but
how rare do you think that footage is? There can't be
yeah,
too many people that have footage like that, you know?
that's true. But I mean, I don't know. Stock footage, I don't know how it's determined. I imagine, I hope most of it goes to the owner of the footage when you buy
I
it.
would think so. I mean, I think if you had, yeah, I don't know. I've never purchased any of it before, but I would think
It's all
that
over the
you,
internet now. Yeah, it's all the
yeah,
websites. So
there's some that's like within like public domain and stuff. But
that's true
now,
too.
now
Yeah.
that we're talking about the films, man, how is the film going?
It's done. It's
It's
really
done.
it's at the it's we're kind of, putting the chairs up on the tables, locking the door, cashing out the drawer, kind of the equivalent of it. I'm not done. I still have a little bit of ADR, and we want to put it through one more color pass. Color, oh my god, dude. If I never have to color grade anything else ever.
Wait. Because you told me, I was like, dude, do you know anything about color correction or color grading anything? Because remember the short that we shot.
Yeah.
So to the audience, Owen and I shot a short in Los Angeles that I produced and wrote, and we had somebody else direct that decided to quit. And so the film never got finished. And now that I sort of have the technical expertise and know how, I want to be able to finish it just because we had a lot of people. Fucking Owen fucking came in clutch that day. Like that.
It was me and December and Matt.
Matt and Steven.
Right,
It was
Steven. Yes,
like,
yes.
I was just like, Jesus. That was an insane day.
That was an insane day. I didn't have get any sleep the night before for whatever reason, but
you
it's
I was like, that was when I was like, Owen Conway is a fucking actor, because like, dude, you all fucking day, like this guy held out, and just like we were out in the hot sun all day, this motherfucker is running around staging fight choreography. Then we go back at the end of the day, we go back and he has to shoot like another scene, and by at that point we were all dead, but like,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I had been through the ring of fire a couple of times on on indie sets where you just, well, I didn't sleep. I still got to be there. I
right.
mean, doesn't my lack of sleep doesn't affect the fact that I need to be there.
Me
And
shooting for my friends though, that shit doesn't even fucking matter to me, you
it's
know?
still a part. It's still I got to work with Matt and with December and who's the guy at who played the guy at your apartment, the delivery
Oh,
guy.
Jalen.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I get to act, I get to work. It's when you're out in LA for a while, and if you're not keeping up with that part of it, with the creative part and the collaborative part and the fun part, you're going to get jaded very fast. You're going to wind up to be, a fairly successful bartender or manager of a restaurant that goes from one place to another. I say that as a bartender. No disrespect. Believe me, I made a whole movie about being a bartender. So,
Dude, I had to take a rank and file job again, and oh, it was so humbling. So humbling. You know, because it was like I didn't have a legit job for the past few years. Like I just freelanced and, did whatever I needed to do to like fucking, make money. But I never had anybody like telling me what to do unless it was under my own conditions, like being in a film. Like, okay, yeah, you're the director. I'll go over here, like but like having a boss, like a schedule, like it's so liberating not having those things,
And it's tough to get to the point where you can not have those things and still be happy, and not broke all the time. It's tough. It's really tough but what I learned is that those so-called safety jobs are anything but. A lot of these places, they keep you on just until your benefits are about to kick in, and then they find some reason to fire your ass.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you start all over again at another place, and before you know it, you're 55, and maybe you've saved a little money, but you've been punching a register for 30 years. And for if I can say nothing else, I've acted, I've been into movies, I've been in some great plays, I've written, I've done what I set out to do. I mean, success is all relative. Obviously, it'd be nice to have Adam Driver's career, but I have Owen Conway's
or Ted Raimi.
Ted Raimi, yeah, hell yeah, good old Ted.
No, and I agree with you there. I one of my neighbors, she's a friend of mine. She's like one of my sisters. She told me, she's like, you went and did it, man. Like you always said you were going to go when you were a kid, and you went and did it. And I was like, yeah, I guess I did, and for what that's worth, that's great.
It's, I hope I don't get in trouble, but if one good thing came out of the pandemic, I think people realize that we don't have to be all centrally located and piled up on top of one another in these coastal cities. Mm-hmm. It's the age of the self-tape, which is great. It's great. And like at the moment, I'm sort of fluctuating back and forth between AZ and California, but being in Arizona certainly has its appeal, because basically I'm splitting the difference between here and New Mexico.
And your taxes are probably astronomically lower.
Yeah, there's good things and bad things. You know what I mean? There's, it'd be nice to go back to LA, but I love LA. It's very much my creative home.
I love LA for the fact that, I mean, I had such a fucking like charmed life there, like I could go wake up at like 6 a.m, stroll out of my fucking apartment. I'd walk down, there's Starbucks, I get my latte, I fucking sit on my stoop, smoke my 3 cigarettes, fucking smoke some weed, watch some of the news, and then, I'm ready to fucking tackle the day, like that to me was like so like I felt like an adult.
Yeah, you're in charge of yourself. And LA is a place that it's also there's a sense of, I don't know, it's more relaxed, it's laid back is a cliche, but it's like,
I don't feel like it is laid back.
At least not to some other places, it's very laid back.
But like as far as like interacting
with sleep other people in LA, like literally in Manhattan, people just don't fucking sleep. I mean, they just don't. Or they buy some serious noise canceling headphones, because that city is never not noisy.
Oh yeah, so I was actually thinking about that today. So we got to talk about an experience that we had when we were doing the Conway and Jay Talk Shit in LA podcast.
Hell yeah.
And Owen said on the podcast, he says, I would never go to New York. I would never go to New York. I'm never going. And then literally minutes later,
it was on that same thing. Yeah. It's funny.
Minutes. It was minutes.
It's the universe has its way of fucking with you. And
He
look,
was like,
New York was very intense. And you don't, I would never trade my experience. I learned a lot, but certain, personal issues, I had to move back home that weren't necessarily related to the work, but I did get a sense of how things work on the corporate side of entertainment. And I don't like it. I
that's
don't like it at
you were
all.
casting, right?
I was doing background casting, which is a very specific type of casting.
Yeah.
Casting itself, you're looking, yeah, they have to match the look that's, there in the profile, but you're also looking for what's special about this guy who kind of looks like this other guy. You're looking for the unique quality in every tape that you look at. Background casting is the complete opposite of that. It's totally judging somebody by how they look and learning to read headshots and said that's way too much Photoshop. They're going to show up and not look like that, and you're going to get shit. And
Oh wow.
it's just I found
It's not
myself
your bag.
It's the opposite of my bag. It's everything I kind of trying to disprove.
Sure.
And I think it's it's a necessary part of the industry, but I there is this sense of dehumanizing people who are on camera.
Yeah, because I mean, like what Hitchcock said, like, actors are like cattle. So shit, what are background actors? That must be like
I mean,
runts.
furniture.
Runts.
Well, no, furniture's expensive. You can't break furniture. You
Leather
can't
jackets.
furniture. You know what I mean? That they're walking costumes. And look,
Right.
they're intensely valuable, and they add so much production value. And the couple of experience I had as a background actor were really special, and really I got an inside look at how the big boys do it, and it was
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Sure. I'll tell you what, you were talking about Josh Brolin earlier, like the project I worked with him on, the Legacy of the White-tailed Deer Hunter, where I was a stand-in. Didn't talk to him or anything, but like, it was, I always remember very, very fondly, like he was using the urinal, I'm walking in the restroom, and then like he fucking zips up and walks out, and we just did a little fucking like, how you doing? Like fucking,
Yeah,
that
a
was
little
it.
nod.
And then he
Yes, nice.
fucking grabbed me with the Infinity Gauntlet.
He
Fucked me
snapped
up.
and you dissipated.
The fuck are you doing in here?
Yeah, he's a great actor. That
Oh,
guy, man.
he was
Such respect for
fantastic.
him.
No, and Danny McBride had him fucking cracking up too. He was like, Danny McBride
I
had
love Danny
everybody
McBride.
cracking up. Yeah, he's
He's
fantastic.
so he's
All
one of
right.
my kind of idols in a way. One of those guys.
Oh,
Who
he's
just
fucking hilarious.
does his own thing and gets paid for it. Go ahead.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this idea. Like, I'm thinking about going to film school, and as a director, you tell me if this would be valid or not, because like I want to go to film school to direct more so for the technical end of it. I feel like, as far as like the acting and the storytelling and the writing, like I've definitely got a little bit more of a foothold in that. So I want to go to be able to like, okay, use this much ISO and da 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 da, like that. I'm still like learning a lot of
Sure.
that.
Yeah. All
And
that
so I was
technical
looking in to go
shit.
to North Carolina School of the Arts, which is where Danny McBride, Jody Hill, Jada Pinkett, a whole bunch of them went there. So
Yeah, I mean, there's so much about that shit. I just don't know. Cameras, I really don't know. I know they sort of the basics and you learn stuff, but I had a really good DP who would basically, I would tell him what I wanted and he would give it to me. He would line it up and there it was. And
I mean, that's
I
really all
don't
the
want
director
to.
needs to do sometimes, though.
I mean, yeah, if
like,
everybody's doing their job, you know what I mean, then you really don't have to do a lot of directing. I was also
the
acting in
DP
everything,
is
so
you
like,
if you
your
have
DP's
a
everything.
oh
He's
yeah,
everything.
and like like on a lot of the indie films that I worked on, like the DP's calling more of the shots than the directors.
Absolutely.
The director's just kind of like, all right, I want it like to be framed like this, like this, like this, make it happen. And
Well,
so
yeah,
the
like
DP,
DP's like captain of the crew. You know what I mean? He's
right,
like first mate, maybe of the ship, but he's like lieutenant of the crew. If that makes any more
right, right,
sense.
right,
You know,
right.
he's
He's
like,
like our first officer, like Riker or something.
yeah, exactly. He's like the
Yeah,
Riker,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and certainly on indie films, you tend to get DPs who are more experienced than directors. I think Dean and I probably had about the same level of experience at above the line crew positions. So we
Right.
were helping each other through it in a lot of ways.
Well, and I also want to learn because doing this, like I just want to keep upping my production value. Like that has upped it significantly. This, now
Yeah.
I got a green screen. I've got like,
Yeah. It's a
I've
slippery slope. Yeah. Once you
well,
start noticing things that are like,
and
yeah, yeah,
you can make
it's
it better.
addictive.
You
Yeah.
know you
Yeah.
can make it better. You're like, okay, I need to just do this, and I need to buy this. Okay, now I need to buy this. Okay, now I want to get this, and then it's like,
I,
ooh, this is cool. I want to get this.
I would
Like
say on the subject of film school, I never went, and I'm no genius or anything. But I was able to pick up the basics of how a set runs by being a PA. I was much younger, and just having kind of set exposure, but also exposure to pre-production and really exposure to post, because post is it's where it's brought over the finish line. It's honestly, there are enough talented and committed people who will work for very low wages because they love to work. It's not that hard to get a movie shot. It's hard to get a movie finished and sold,
oh,
and
surely.
that's what's hard. I mean, even like getting the ball rolling is not the hard part. It's because you wind up being the only person pushing the ball, and it's a boulder by that time.
Oh yeah. And Eminence Hill landed on Tubi. I think I told you that, right?
Yeah, it's. I'm very proud of Eminence, man. I hope it gets a little more love as time goes on.
Well, I
Um,
mean, seeing as how Lance Henriksen is the star of it, and you know,
yeah, well, yeah. Well, that's another thing. You have no control
I
over the
know, I
marketing,
know. Yeah,
and if
no,
you,
tell the story. Tell the
it's
story.
I mean, it's there's 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 none, and unless the only way you're going to have pure creative control over anything, particularly movies, because on any level they're easy to do shitty, but they're really hard to do even competent. To even just pull it off as just a movie that makes sense is an exceedingly hard thing to do. And if you can't personally find, it's hard and it's expensive. And really,
Hmm.
it's expensive because it's time consuming. Because the technology is as such now. It's not, again, like I said, it's not that difficult to shoot something. But to really produce something and to get it distributed and get it to as wide an audience as possible, you're financed by somebody else, and you have you have to tick certain boxes for them. They have to be happy with it, and
Sure.
they're not professional, filmmakers or movie critics. They're sales guys, and
And they're
they're
more like the audience that you would be trying to market the film to.
yeah.
Like
I mean, they're supposed experts on the audience, and who's gonna marketing it this way to this particular group in this, is gonna make the most money back. And obviously, I just want as many eyeballs on it as possible. He can call it whatever he wants. It's I'm exceedingly proud of this movie, and it man, it
well, you did it, man. Like, I mean,
took
not
a
a lot
lot
of
out
people
of
can
you,
say
but
they made a fucking movie, man. Like, for better or
well,
worse,
and I
like,
did get the opportunity to, because I put a lot of time in at my brother's company, and that's kind of what I was getting to earlier with the film school stuff. Is that it's the best film school, honestly, is a film set, and sort of doing it yourself, in my opinion. I don't want to just, what you'll get out of a film school is a community of other filmmakers, a
that's
group
true.
that you can plug into and you can meet, especially locally. That's, you'll get that out of a film school.
And that's kind of what, like, joining an acting conservatory like
Sure,
Stella,
exactly,
like
exactly.
that, it's
Yeah,
really just a network more than anything.
right, right. A network of people, and maybe you make some friends you can work with, and maybe it, like you said, Danny McBride and Jody Hill like met there, right? They started off there,
Yeah,
right?
and
Yeah. So
and and like Danny, I worked on Vice Principals, and then I worked on his other project, and like he remembered me like both times, and like it was super super dope. And um, I worked with that. It was just background, but getting upgraded to stand-in was kind of cool. They were like, "Oh, what do you want to eat?" I was like, "I get a choice." I was like, "Shit, all right. Well, I feel like I'm
nice, very
fucking
nice. Got an upgrade. Hell yeah,
fuck
brother.
high rolling right here." But
Well,
yeah, I
that
mean,
shit adds up. It adds up over time, and you certainly the more exposure you get to the process, I think is, I mean, gonna be better than any. Because honestly, in the age of the internet, man, anything you need to know, you can probably find a YouTube tutorial for it.
no doubt, no doubt.
The technical stuff, and certainly I still have so much to learn about all that. But I find, like, with each little self tape I do, I get a little bit better at it, and I get a little more. There's a lot an iPhone could do with a couple lights and an iPhone, and there's some great apps, um, Filmic Pro and CAD Rage. If you're on a set, if you're directing, CAD Rage, because CAD Rage you can set it to your DP's camera settings, so you have your little viewfinder, to help compose the shot with the guy. But Filmic is actually, you can adjust exposure, you can shoot in 4K, it has the qualities of a pretty high-end camera. You wouldn't probably shoot a feature film on it, but
Well, they shot
and
Tangerine on an iPhone.
it's theoretically totally possible.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
and
I
and
shoot.
you know,
Have you the intro I shot on my phone? The intro to this channel, and I shot it in 4K. I mean, like the fucking phones are amazing now. Like the way that they can, utilize
I
such
mean, certainly
amazing technology.
the brand new iPhone has apparently some pretty impressive features with their cinema mode and stuff, because you can really do shifting of your focal length and stuff. You can do certain, they really and look, it's I'm certain there's some older cameramen and camera purists who are like, that's not real movie making, and that's how that was the attitude when digital video started to take over as the norm in the industry in the first place.
And that's the thing. There's always going to be the old method overtaking the new. You look at, like, silent film stars like fucking
The talkies.
Douglas Fairbanks, and yeah, Mary Pickford and all them. Yeah, and then the talkies came along, and they're like, oh, this is going to ruin everything, and so it's just that natural progression as far as, like, we're in a different era technologically, and so especially, and even financially too. I mean, like, we don't operate within like the big studio systems anymore because,
I mean,
to be quite honest, you don't have to, so
you
like
don't have to. You know what the big thing that strikes me? I've been watching a lot of old Mystery Science Theaters, and some of the newer riff tracks. I fucking love those
I love
guys
them,
so much. They
dude.
they are
Wait,
my
you're watching the
comfort
newer
and
ones?
my joy. Yeah, the new riff tracks, the
Oh, the
new
new riff tracks. I thought you were
MST,
talking
yeah,
about
the
the
new
new
riff tracks.
MST3K. I'm like, that
They're not so
sucks.
bad. They're not so bad, but to me, the dream team is Murphy, Corbett, and Nelson, and you
Yeah,
don't get any better. There's just
yeah.
never been a better team.
Those riff
And
tracks are fucking great.
they're brilliant, and they find these old movies that are, it's especially the really old ones. It's like, when I think about film, just the cost of film itself, and the fact that you couldn't watch or take back. There was no playback. You didn't really know what you were getting, unless of course you were huge. Maybe in the old days they had some sort of rig. But the fact that anybody made a movie at all, much less an independent movie, before digital video, is astonishing. It's astonishing. I mean, the
Yeah.
Coen brothers talk about when they were editing in the old days, you were literally editors would always have calloused hands with cuts all over them from the razor blades because you're literally
You're
physically.
literally, yeah, you that's why they called it a cut. You are literally cutting the film.
I love it, man. But I
It's
couldn't
crazy,
imagine.
yeah.
I couldn't
I
imagine. I'm not that
um
tough.
yeah. I had a segue.
Sorry.
No, 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 no. It'll come back to me. This is
I
all
throw segues off. It's what I do.
this is all new to me again. No, we were talking about like technology and oh god, I had it. Oh, I remember what it is. I remember. Did you end up seeing the new Scream?
I did not. I'm
Okay.
kicking myself, but I honestly don't give a fuck if you
If I
spoil the
spoil
hell
it.
out of it
Okay.
because
All right.
I'm
Fine.
no
Good.
big Scream fan. Yeah, but
Okay.
please spoil it. Yeah, it'd
Well,
actually be interesting to hear it.
one thing I actually I want to cite this first before I start talking about Scream, because we did a review years ago for The Shape of Water, and I actually thought it was a pretty good movie. I went and saw it with my mom when she was in town for the holidays at the AMC Sunset Dine-In 5, and I fucking had a great experience with it. I loved it. And then I talked to you, and you were like, dude, that movie was like fucking trash. And I was like, why? And then you said,
I mean, I think about that movie a lot. It's weird because there's very few movies that I just despise because I mean, I've been part of the I understand how the sausage is made now and the different amount of the all the people that have to come together to make a movie happen. And even if it's a shitty movie, and I'm not talking necessarily about Shape of Water here, which is definitely there's love in every frame and dedication in every frame. Nobody phoned it in. That's not the movie's problem. And even if a movie is at some level, somewhere along the line, somebody thought, hey, this thing's pretty good. Even if it was Hercules versus the Moon Man, somebody thought, that's kind of cool. I kind of would want to watch that. What the hell? Somebody loved it at some point, I guess is my. So,
yeah.
But I feel I'm very much punching upward at Shape of Water because everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. And I feel like nobody watched the same movie that I did.
Well, now
I've
that I
tried
watched,
to go back and watch it again.
but you got to explain why that you didn't like The Shape of Water.
Well, I mean, you know what? The quickest answer is the cat. Here's the thing about the monster killing the cat. It's not a threat to the monster because it's a 7-pound animal. Okay. The monster killed the cat either because it's a savage animal that was operating on instinct, in which case she should not be having sex with it because it can't consent. An animal can't consent to sex. A lot of people, unfortunately, abuse animals this way in the real world. And there's a reason there's a law against it because an animal can't consent. So if the thing is a savage animal, she's basically raping it. If it's not, which is my theory, it's basically a supervillain in the making. And it killed the cat because the cat disrespected it. It had a food source. It's immortal. It can survive bullet wounds. But a cat hissing, which by the way, cats usually hiss out of fear, not like a threat, sets it off, and it was like, fuck you, dude. It's like, and it sets me off on a whole different track about the stereotypes in the movie. The lovely black actress, what's her name? Black female actress from Ma.
Oh,
she's so good.
Octavia Spencer.
Octavia Spencer, thank you.
Yeah.
She's the friend. She's the
token black friend.
The token black friend. Mm-hmm. Okay. You go, girl. And Richard
Jenkins.
Jenkins, yeah, great actor, amazing actor, and he's playing a gay guy, but it's this kind of wimpy gay guy who gets easily shoved around. And I mean, like, Alexander the Great might have a thing or two to say about that portrayal of gay people. And the one time you see Octavia Spencer's husband, he's sitting on his ass watching TV. I mean,
the stereotypical, like,
stereotypical lazy black guy.
Yeah.
And look, maybe it's because I grew up in Arizona. I heard a lot of this shit from fucking asshole racists. You know what I mean? So maybe I'm seeing something that wasn't intended. Maybe it's so deeply embedded in somebody like Guillermo, who's a great, amazing filmmaker, that he doesn't realize how stupid and awful that fucking movie is.
And what I wanted to talk about in that movie specifically was like the male actors and the male characters. Like you were saying, Richard Jenkins, effeminate gay. Then you've got Octavia Spencer's husband, who is like the no good, do nothing, stereotypical black man. Then you've got Michael Shannon as the law enforcement, and that is fucking crazy and just insane.
He's a religious nut. He's abusive to his wife. He's abusive to black people. And the whole idea of the movie that, oh well, the real monster is this guy. Oh no shit. Maybe it's not the scary looking guy dressed in black that you play scary music under the second he walks on screen. I mean, it's
he was kind of right.
He was totally right. The thing is an immortal killing machine. It kills this cat for no fucking reason. So why wouldn't it kill a baby that spit on it? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or a little kid who threw a rock at it. It would absolutely totally.
You know who else is right too? Walter Peck in Ghostbusters.
He is. That poor guy.
He had every fucking reason to go in there and check that. That was his job. He was a member of the EPA, and fucking Peter Venkman was a straight up fucking dick to him. And it's like, no shit. I was gonna say, no shit, he'd come back there with the police and shit. What?
Yeah, totally just. It would make a great movie. The story of that actor and that movie, and what happened to him when that movie went big. Like little kids would throw rocks at him in the streets.
Yeah,
people just despised him. He couldn't get work anymore.
Dude, maybe we could get, his name is William Atherton. That's his name. We could get in touch with him and do like a documentary about like the post fallout from Ghostbusters.
I'd be so interested to talk to that guy, because talk about it. I mean, he just nailed that part. He took a character who, you're right, is right and justified, and he made him so unlikable that like he became the character.
But he didn't become unlikable until, well, I mean, I guess he was kind of like he was a little arrogant. Yeah, but like Venkman was just fucking railroaded him the whole time and was just like,
that's true. Venkman's a total asshole.
Yeah, so it's Peter Venkman's fault that all the fucking ghosts got released into fucking New York City.
It's so his fault. If he was a little more reasonable
from that perspective, it's like it's all fucking Peck's fault.
He was a little more reasonable with Peck. You're absolutely right.
They wouldn't have fucking been in that situation.
He had to get in a dick measuring contest. That's Venkman.
There's so many things. Like, one moment in a movie will not, like, if it goes sideways, it will affect the course of the rest of the movie. Like the fact that the fucking Imperials didn't fire on C-3PO and R2-D2 in the escape pod, like, there would have been no movie. It would have just been boom, over. Dun, 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 dun.
There's probably an extended, yeah, exactly. There's probably an extended comic book series about the one gunner there who said, "Oh no, don't fire. There's no life forms," and like why he did that. It's probably a whole tie-in that's going to be a TV show.
They're going to throw that guy in the fucking spice mines of Kessel. You're fucking fired. What do you mean? No life forms on board. Boom!
Hey, Disney, call me. That's my pitch, man. That's my Star Wars movie.
You do your alternate Star Wars movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, okay, so, all right. What I was going to say was Scream. Yeah, back to Shape. Okay, so we're tying this all together.
Shape of Water.
Right. As it relates to Shape of Water. All right. Gotcha. So I noticed in all right, there's this new like trope that I've been noticing where it's like the white erasure trope, or like all the white people are crazy, or the males. It's usually like more directed at the white people, but then like it's the males, and then it like But
Yeah,
Scream suffered
it's
from this. Scream suffered from this. All the males in it were crazy. They were effeminate. They were derpy. They were like, you like totally beta types, And it was like,
yeah,
and
yeah. I'm
they
picking up what you're putting
they
down.
all
Yeah.
died. And the one kid, the one that was like he thought he was like effeminate, and then like he was like, oh, I liked the main protagonist girl at one point. Like his mom's a cop, and like she dies. So it's like all the men and the authority figures die. So like I oh, and David Arquette dies. Spoiler.
Well,
Um,
he's
but like
probably like, thanks. Yeah, I'll do one and collect the check, but I don't want to come back to this shit anymore. Probably,
well, they needed like I mean they needed to
the
get rid of one
handoff
of
of
those
the.
characters. But what I was saying,
It's the Force Awakens model, right?
right? What I was saying though was like the whole situation with like it's like one of those like girl power movies, and like
Mm-hmm.
none of the okay, Billy Loomis has uh like a bastard love child, um and
I could see that. He was a
she's the
scumbag, yeah.
she's the protagonist of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not white. She's like Hispanic. And then like you remember Randy, Jamie Kennedy?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the guy with the rules. Yeah, sure.
his niece and nephew are characters in it, and they're like half white and half black. Like they killed all the white characters, all the white males, and all that's left are the Courtney Cox, Nev Campbell, new girl, new Mexican girl,
Mm.
new black guy, new black girl, and other Mexican girl. All white boys are dead, and all fucking cops are dead.
I do wonder if this feeds a further division, this type of thing. And having not seen the movie, just from your description of it, I know what you're talking about, and it's a thorny issue on many sides, because you could say we have 100 years of movies about straight white guys. We do, and
Sure.
they're great movies.
Yeah.
And I think other stories need to be told.
That's fine. And
It's
I
a
mean,
thorny
I don't
one.
disagree with
It's a
you. I just
thorny
don't.
one.
No. I know, but I don't
It's
think
a
it should
good
be.
one.
I don't think it should
It's a
be at
good
the
one.
like expense of like, well, let's just like completely cut this like other race out, or just make them look stupid or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think you need to alienate guys like you and me, to put not too fine a point on it.
That's what they did with
Straight
Ghostbusters.
white cisgender guys. Yeah, and then Afterlife sort of
I
did
didn't
something
see it.
else.
I didn't see it.
All right, well,
I had a fleeting interest in seeing it, and then I was like, nah.
I'll tell you what. It's If I had kids, I'm sure kids would have loved it, all the way up to the last scene, which I don't want to spoil, but
I'm not gonna watch it.
so
Spoil it.
They digitally resurrect Harold Ramis.
Oh, I heard about
Like
that. Yeah.
they did this practice of hauling a dead celebrity out of the, and look, they did it with the most respect and out of pure love. The movie ends with For Harold. It was obviously done just like Princess Leia, out of the best intentions, but it's fucking creepy. And
I think it's tasteless.
it's
If they're
weird,
dead, it's
right? It's
tasteless.
ghoulish. It's ghoulish if they're dead. I mean,
If they're dead. Now, hang on. Like, let's go back to Scream. They had a like a deep fake version of Skeet Ulrich in there from the first movie, and it looked when they first showed it, it didn't look too good. I was like, ooh, that doesn't look too good. But when they showed it in like subsequent shots, I'm telling you, man, it's getting harder and
I
harder
mean,
to
was
like.
Skeet on set making those choices, and was it modeled off of him?
I think he did the motion capture.
Because
Yeah,
then what
he would have
that
had
then
to.
that then that's an actor. It's still
Sure.
a living,
Yeah,
breathing person who can
but like
consent.
Peter Cushing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's just in bad taste, I think.
It was, and it's again. It always comes back to Star Wars, doesn't it? It's again the
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
it does
Right. Yeah.
it's technology being pushed, and I appreciate that. That's how we get breakthroughs and great stuff. But it's the old Jurassic Park line: is your scientists were so obsessed whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like I yeah,
But back to your
I
point
think.
about the yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I think if they're alive to be able to, like, consent to having their image be able to be digitally recreated and whatnot, then it's fine. But like Peter Cushing, he'd be like, I don't want to be in a fucking new Star Wars movie, or like, you know, whomever that, Harold Ramis is like, oh yeah, I was done with this shit after the second Ghostbusters. Like, fucking let it die, like I did, you
I
know.
mean, even if they again, even if they put in their will, hey, when the technology gets there, digitally resurrect me and put me in a movie, it's still creepy. It just is. It's
Yeah.
creepy in essence, and it's a block I can't get past.
Yeah.
These days.
Yeah, I mean, like, when they did the, like, Rogue One, I was just like, why do we need Tarkin? Why do we need him? He doesn't need to be here, you know? He just didn't. It was
Yeah,
ridiculous.
they were flexing the new technology, and I think it would have been cool if you saw his face in the window in one scene, kind of a throwback to, but they make him a fucking main character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been watching Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, I have the opposite opinion of a lot of the fandom. I thought it started off really strong, and now it's getting a little, I mean, it's cool seeing Luke. Yeah, you've obviously caught up, right?
No, don't
Sorry.
spoil it for me. I got past episode 4, and
Okay.
I just haven't caught up on the last two. I mean, I'm not
All
surprised.
right.
It's
Well, then the
wait,
last
wait,
two.
wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. Spoilers, just small spoiler. It's Sebastian Stan, right?
In Boba Fett?
Yeah.
No.
It's Mark Hamill, the deepfake Mark Hamill.
It is. It very much is. It's
Weird.
improved quite a bit.
Oh.
It's but if you haven't seen it, I don't want it. That doesn't really spoil
I
anything.
mean,
I mean,
I
that's
saw the
something
one in Mandalorian, and it was okay.
I like that one, but it felt like an episode of Mandalorian. And I'm like, what about Boba Fett?
Did you see that fucking shitty Terminator Dark Fate?
I did not. Was that the new one with they're calling them legacy movies now,
What
where
does that mean?
you bring back it's a Force Awakens model. You bring back the original cast to hand off the baton to the new cast to keep the franchise going.
But they
And
fucking reset the timeline again.
Terminator was a two-part story, man. Just
It
let a
wasn't even a two. It was.
two-part
Wait.
story.
This is gonna blow your mind. This is gonna blow your mind. Not that into T2 anymore.
Ah, it's so epic.
It's the
It's
same. It's the same movie as the first one, though.
I
Exact same.
it's but Robert Patrick trained himself not to blink while firing a gun for that movie.
That's impressive.
And that is impressive.
Oh,
I
I mean,
mean,
like,
that's an
there,
actor.
no other person I feel like could have played that role. Like, he just nails it, like,
Nobody.
so perfectly.
Perfect.
No, I mean, I don't feel like T2 is a bad movie, and I used to prefer T2 over the first one. But as I get older, like, I just really appreciate, like, almost like the grit and like the exploitation B movie quality of
Mm.
like the first one, and like how gritty it is and unrelenting. Like, there's no like
It
hasta la
definitely,
vista, baby. There's none of that shit,
yeah,
like,
it's definitely the more indie vibe kind of one
right.
of the two for sure, because he
It's
didn't have the
a
budget.
lo-fi version.
Yeah.
And I like,
Uh,
I mean, fucking Michael Biehn is fantastic in it. Fucking Linda Hamilton, fucking. I mean, Arnold fucking nails that role too.
He's
You
so
know,
good in that movie.
he's
He
fucking
is.
great when he kills
He's
Dick Miller. Like phase plasma rifle with a 40-watt range. You know, you're like, this dude is so fucking like badass. You know.
I mean, but you have that. I guess it's because T2 really is more spectacle than the first one. Obviously,
Yeah.
he blew up a real building for that movie. That
Oh, I mean, it's a
chase in the
fantastic
LA
movie. Don't get me
River.
wrong.
I mean, and certainly as a kid, all the fucking feels when Arnold goes into the lava.
You know,
It's
I shot my intro as an homage in the LA River. I shot that as an homage to T2.
nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to me, it's so iconic. It's like, and I saw it first as a little kid. I saw T2
I
before
think I did too.
T1.
Yeah.
So I think that impression is still so much there. And
I also like the soundtrack to the first Terminator a little bit better. I think it's just
it's definitely more 80s. It's definitely
it's
more
got a
synth.
synth wave like lo-fi. I'm all about it, man. Like it
I
just
don't mind synth, but it's just there's something about it that puts it very much in a place and time for me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But synth is,
yeah, I mean
I
like
think it's great in Terminator.
I'm enjoying Book of Boba Fett a lot. There's a lot of people that are hating on it. I'm like, why? It feels almost exactly like Mandalorian, and like I was like, what more can they possibly do with Boba Fett? And then it's
I
just like, oh damn, they do a lot, and then it's like he basically becomes the new Jabba the Hutt.
I mean, I thought it was really, people were complaining about the flashbacks, but I thought they were really interesting. And
Well, now they're
it's
done.
kind of, yeah, now they're done. And I'm
Yeah,
glad they're
fuck it.
done.
Yeah,
But it's,
I mean the flashbacks were kind of like, oh, let's get on with the regular story,
that's the
like
problem is that you knew he was going to get out of it. You
right.
knew where he was going to ultimately wind up. But at the same time, like the forging of the gaffy stick was such a cool moment.
I think it's kind of cool how he became like an honorary Tuscan brother, like, and
Yeah, and
I love when he went back and lit the fucking gang up, the fucking biker
that was
gang, like
fucking
that
badass.
shit.
I
He
mean,
was just like, fuck him, bah, 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 bah,
that's
like.
right out of an old western. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? Right out of a, just the reformed bounty hunter, the bad guy who's trying to do good. And I mean, again, it's like it's conventions and stuff we've seen before, but that's not necessarily a bad thing all the time if it's done in a fun way that scratches an itch.
Yeah, I mean,
Not
I don't know.
everything has to be
I just
a
think
Robert Eggers
I think
movie.
Star Wars belongs on TV. I think they really kind of screwed the pooch with the last few of these films. And
They
I
definitely hit their stride with TV shows, I think, too. Yeah, yeah.
but like I think because even when I was like younger, I was like, this is where Star Wars needs to be. They need to have a live action TV show, a la Star
Yeah,
Trek. Like,
yeah.
and
I mean, it's
they.
episodic in nature, and you have, it will be nice to get out of Tatooine. I'm kind of sick of Tatooine, to be
I
honest, but
know. Tatooine and every like, why is Tatooine so fucking important?
it's
Why?
my only beef with Boba Fett is that a lot of these kind of things were done in Mandalorian already. It's like, in like,
Yeah,
the
exactly. I'm
the
like, this is
bonding
some
with
of
the
this shit is like
Tuskens. And
Mandalorian B-roll.
that being said, look, man, I mean, the last two are they're pretty eventful, especially this last one was quite eventful.
Yeah,
And it's
I love
it's
I love how he recruited his little fucking like steampunk fucking biker crew of little kids.
yeah, there are
He's
so
basically
many.
just like, hey, you want a job? Hey, you want a job? He's like starting a business.
I mean,
He's like
that's classic crime boss
he
stuff. He
fucking
needs
like people
soldiers, he
who
needs
would fucking
henchmen.
ordinarily cross him, and like he's got the opportunity to kill him. He's like, how about you come work for me? They're like,
Right.
well, you didn't kill me? Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Like
and it's I I think they could do a little more with that particular element of it, being the crime boss than they're doing, but whatever. It's fun and it's cool, and it's the effects look awesome. They're fun to watch. I've got a whole new appreciation for visual effects now. Just the.
Some of the ones with the little swoop bike chase with the kids, some of that was a little wonky. I was like, ooh, I don't know.
I mean, it is funny because even on these Disney Plus shows, with this huge budget, you do see it get lean in certain spots. I saw some of that stuff in the action in Loki. I noticed some of the action in Loki was a little.
Bro, one thing.
Loki's
Oh,
great
Boba
though.
Fett, fucking Jennifer Beals as a Twi'lek.
Yeah, she's great. What a great casting. Fucking
Yeah,
great casting in that show.
and
Across the board, fantastic
and then they
casting.
had the stapler guy
Yes,
fucking
Stephen
off
Root.
his
He's
face.
having such a year, dude. He is honestly okay. He's not the best part of the new Macbeth. Honestly, I think that's the witches.
Oh, are you talking about the Cohen Macbeth?
Yeah. Oh,
I haven't seen it. I wanted to see it.
oh, is it something, man?
Is it
It's
okay?
I honestly like most Coen Brothers movies. My first watch, I didn't really appreciate it, but I watched it again and thought about it, and now it's like the brilliance of Joel Cohen and Francis McDormand and Denzel. Denzel does such an amazing
Wait,
thing with
Denzel Washington's in Macbeth?
he is Macbeth. It's
He's
totally
Macbeth?
like he's Macbeth.
Okay.
He's the and he it's it's Denzel, but it's not it's a movie star version of Macbeth, but it's not like it's real and it's truthful. It's a certain interpretation. It's very much Denzel, um, but he nails it to the fucking wall. And it's the power of Shakespeare. The versatility of it,
Yeah.
the different ways you can interpret Macbeth and Lady Macbeth.
Have
Francis
you
McDormand,
have you
obviously.
ever seen Denzel Washington and James Earl Jones playing the same part in Fences, like back to back?
Oh no, yeah, that's probably on some behind some paywall somewhere, right?
Well, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 no. Like you can just go and
on
watch
YouTube.
James Earl Jones. Yeah, and watch
Look
the
it
scene
up. Look
with
it up.
James Earl Jones doing the same one that
Oh,
Denzel
I
Washington.
yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, I have
James
seen it.
Earl Jones nails it. Denzel Washington did not.
Denzel is a leading man. You know what I mean? And it's something I'm learning more and more. It's like actors have certain strengths, and most of it is based on a commercial thing. He's perfectly capable of morphing into another person. I think you
Sure.
see that with stuff like Roman J. Israel. He's perfectly capable of it,
Malcolm
but
X.
it's Malcolm X. Yeah, but it's when you're that level of movie star, even when you're doing Macbeth, there's a brand you adhere to. And also with Shakespeare, because it's done in this great kind of minimalist German expressionist film way. It's so
That's
cool.
awesome.
It's so cool. It's all in black and white with the old like a 3:4 ratio. It's like a like the Lighthouse ratio, the boxy thing.
Did you like The Lighthouse?
Fucking loved it.
Did
Loved
you?
the Lighthouse. Oh, I love the Lighthouse. I hated
Mm.
it. Here was my experience with the Lighthouse. What the fuck was that? I want my money back. Why can't I stop thinking about that weird ass movie? I'm gonna watch that movie again. Maybe I
I was
missed
on the
something.
fence about it. I was
Best
totally on
movie
the
of the
fence
year.
about it.
I wound up thinking
Oh no,
honestly it was the
I don't
best
think
movie of
so.
that
I don't
year.
know about that. I can't remember what year it was, so
It
I'd
was
be.
2 years ago, maybe. It was a slow year for movies, to be
I'm just
honest.
gonna say, like, I had high hopes and ambitions because old boy directed The Witch. Like, that's a fucking masterpiece right
The
there.
Witch is a masterpiece.
I could watch
It's
that
fantastic.
all fucking day long.
It's a
Good
perfect
film.
movie. It's a
Um,
perfect movie,
yeah,
Perfect.
and so I was really maybe I was expecting more because like to have your first film be so strong like right out of the gate, like you're just like, damn, what's he gonna do next? That was his first film, The Witch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy
Yeah.
to me because that has
He's
like
a
the
real genius.
it
He's a
has
real
like the
genius.
poise of like a seasoned filmmaker, like a fucking Kubrick or like a
He's
Herzog or somebody.
and not to devalue, I'm sure he's worked very hard and everything, but he's a real prodigy. I think he's a Mozart,
Oh, I'm sure.
Robert Eggers.
I'm
I think
sure.
he's beyond talented.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so why didn't you like the Lighthouse?
Oh, damn, that's really hard to say. I
I
mean,
guess it's not. I guess it's the proof is more on liking it because it's so weird. I
Man, it's
get
weird because
why.
like I was in a bipolar episode when I saw it, so it was like
Probably pretty triggering. Imagine.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like a lot of flashing lights and stuff, you know. Maybe
Yeah.
it was just like the aesthetics were just too like surreal for me because I was or something, I don't know. Maybe and a second look on a film for me might change my perspective totally. I've only seen it once, so
To me, it suffers if I, have one downplay on it is that it suffers a little bit from Matrix syndrome where you kind of need to, I had to go online and like read some of the interviews to really figure out what the hell he was doing with it. And in the age of the internet, you can do that. And when I kind of figured out what they were doing, it was really cool. And it was just
right.
it's basically like Prometheus, but it's like these old Greek god type of thing. And he wanted to do the same scene over and over again with different power dynamics. It was super experimental, super unique, incredibly unique. It didn't feel like a movie. It felt like somebody dug up these old film cans and like dusted them off and restored them, and that's what we're watching. This
Yeah,
old
that's a good
weird.
analogy, I
It,
guess.
it was so, and I mean, like, Willem Dafoe delivers a 2-minute monologue in which he doesn't blink once, and the camera doesn't cut away from him,
Wow.
and it's crazy, weird, batshit, bizarre, and he got it made with movie stars. I mean, it, it if it suffers from anything is that it's a little bit of a Bob Dylan song, so it's a little
What
inaccessible.
does that mean? Inaccessible. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah, 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 yeah.
very, very imagery arty. It's arts arty is the best way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
Um,
definitely got like an art house like expressionist type feel to it, and that's not very palatable to, like
I-
most mainstream audiences. Yeah, I
right,
get it. Yeah.
and it's
Oh,
about madness and insanity, and that's not a pleasant
I watched this film
subject.
the other day. It's an old film. It's a very like niche film, and tell me if you've ever heard of it, because not a lot of people know about it. It's called Buckaroo Banzai.
I've not heard of it, but it sounds amazing just from the
Oh,
title.
there's a longer title. It's like Buckaroo Banzai in the da 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 da. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it's like Peter Weller is the star of it, and it's fucking weird as fuck. It's like 80s fucking. It was based on a book or a comic book, I think, and it's wild, dude. But like, and I like weird shit. Like I can appreciate some if somebody goes out on a limb to do some experimental fucking shit.
Certainly, yeah, yeah, yeah. That
But I could see why people wouldn't like things like that. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, where like some of my friends, I'm like, nah, they're not gonna like that film. Nah, they're not gonna like that. They're not gonna like that. Like I try to show my neighbor Argento, and he isn't into his movies, and I'm like, I can't make him like the movies.
there's
I can
so
just
many options now too, right? There's so
well,
much stuff out
yeah,
there.
that's the problem. And it almost makes you wonder like why as an actor in LA is it hard to get work?
Mhm.
Because it's like there's
Well,
so there's so much opportunity for work out there
it
like
tends to all go to the same people, and
right.
and that's not. I don't think that's necessarily nepotism and this and that. It's just that it's all about the business, and you're going to go to people who are not just reliable workers on set, professional, but who are reliable money makers,
Oh, no doubt.
reliable, popular with the audience. They
What
they
did you end up titling your film? Because it had like a
We still
working
don't know.
title.
I still don't know.
Oh, okay,
It right
okay.
now it's called Ghost Town and
Right.
American Terror. Ghost Town: An American Terror, because there's about 50,000 movies called Ghost Town.
Oh,
What they'll wind up settling on, I'm not sure. I have a few ideas, but hopefully, you know, it'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of that,
nice.
because it'll, but whatever it is, I'll be promoting the hell out of it.
Have you been to LA post pandemic?
Sure, yeah, a
You
few
did.
times. Yeah, a few times.
Oh,
I mean, I kind of avoided LA proper. I went to
right.
like Burbank, you know what I mean, a couple of
Ah.
times, or uh, like Glendale, North Hollywood type area. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I tried to avoid the really intense part just because.
But okay, this is gonna blow your mind. I was working in downtown LA, and like we were having like people come in, like, because this guy was the guy that designed this logo. I was working at a print shop, and we designed this together, and like he 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 had some like shady business dealings that he dealt with, and like people were coming in there like telling him, "I'll fucking kick your ass, I'll fucking shoot you," and shit like that.
Oh shit!
And he's like, "I'll fucking do it, fucking like shoot me and shit." And here I am, just kind of sitting there. I'm like, no, I don't really feel like dying over this, guys. Like, I'm just gonna.
Oh.
And one of my buddies that was working there, he's like, I just walked in the back. I'm gonna just hang out here, you know. And I'm
So
like,
you were there to get a logo made, and
well, no,
a guy came in.
I actually worked at the print shop,
Oh,
like
you
doing,
worked there. I
yeah,
see. I
yeah,
see.
yeah. And kind of some of the perks was like, um, we got to, print our own shit and stuff
No,
like
that's dope.
that. So
That's
yeah, I mean, it was, it was a good job. It just didn't pay me enough, and that was, part of the reason I left LA was like, COVID, all that other shit, and like all I was doing was this, like I wasn't even auditioning or doing anything, and like.
it's hard, man. It's a hustle and it's a grind, and
And
it's
especially when they make you want to take like 3 fucking COVID tests a day, like not worth it. Like
it's definitely, you know, it's definitely tightened things around the industry, certain aspect regulations and stuff. But what's crazier to me is that I was noticing for a while there, I would have to slate whether or not I was vaccinated. Then it became,
they
are
made you
you
do
vac?
that?
Yeah, at first.
What?
At first, like I was fine with it because honestly, like I want to be covered legally across the board, no matter what. I
Sure.
want to, if I ever get dragged into a court by anybody, because we made 2 movies during the pandemic, one of which was mine. I was running the set and just absolutely anal about social distancing and masking,
Well, you have to be,
and we didn't. Nobody got sick. Nobody fucking got sick on
Good.
my movie, and I'm
That's good.
intensely proud of that because but look it but look, I was happy to let prospective employers know that I was vaccinated because I don't want to give anybody any reason not to hire me. And unfortunately, being vaccinated or not doesn't obviously affect the spread. These are companies trying to insulate themselves from potentially being sued by a guy who gets hired, comes to set, catches COVID because he wasn't vaccinated, gets
Yeah.
super sick, maybe dies, then his family starts suing the company. But the crazy thing now is that they don't even ask anymore. The middle
Well, but like,
ground was like, it was like, I mean,
hold on, let me interject for a second. Like, say somebody gets
please.
the flu. Say somebody gets the flu and then passes the flu on to somebody on a film set. Like, are they
Well, generally
liable?
on film sets, the flu passes around and people are
Right,
sick,
but
but they come in anyway. That's a whole
but
separate issue,
but
which
what I'm
I've
saying
seen.
is, like, are they liable? Like, if they, like, let's
I
say
don't know.
somebody catches the flu from them and then they get a temperature of like 105 or 106 and they fucking die. Like.
So, I mean, yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. It's you know,
I mean, I
I
I
guess
see
that's
why they do it.
probably they probably ultimately wound up deciding that because now I don't get the question anymore.
That's good. I mean,
Um,
to me, it's kind of like personally, I think it's a little bit invasive because it's like, do you, like they could be like, do you have herpes? Do you have HIV? It's like,
sure,
it's like none of
I
your
can
business.
I can totally, and you shouldn't, be hired or not hired based on a personal health reason. I mean, there could be 1,000 reasons why somebody doesn't get a vaccine that doesn't necessarily have to do with what they feel politically or
Right.
anything like that. Or 1,000 reasons someone wouldn't want to disclose that information. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I personally am happy to wave any flag about that because I I I really don't want to fucking get COVID. What's driving me nuts now is like,
Oh, so you haven't caught it yet at all?
no, no,
Oh,
and like
good,
everybody,
good.
that's what everybody's saying now. Is like, well, everybody's gonna catch it. Like, fuck you, not me,
You know what? Like a
not
buddy of mine,
me.
buddy of mine were sitting around
Catch
the
it
other
tomorrow.
day, and like we were like, dude, imagine if this was like the bubonic plague or something like way more severe, something like that. I was like, neither him and I have caught COVID. I was like, we're one of the only ones left, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, we're some of the like if you
Yeah.
play it out from that scenario, like,
I mean,
you
I think
know,
if there were literal bodies in the streets, you'd get more people taking vaccines and such,
yeah, yeah.
more
No,
cooperation
I
probably.
mean that's the thing. Like we're not really witnessing any of this firsthand, so it's like, what's it's not like the fucking Black Plague where like people were dropping dead in the fucking streets, So
I mean, thankfully, we do have.
yeah,
I
thankfully.
mean, we're not, yeah, in the Middle Ages where we thought that cats spread disease, so we killed all the cats, not knowing that it was the fucking fleas and the rats, which was actually spreading the disease. So the disease exploded because they killed off fucking animals that were keeping the rat population in check.
Right,
We know not to do that shit now. I
right.
mean, we know a lot about diseases. This one, you know, is a new one, and it's a slowly unfolding natural disaster. And I remember on 9/11, like all the day of, all the different news and different scenarios and different shit that was being kind of floated out there because as people were trying to make sense of it.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's,
What do you
happening
think
with
happened?
COVID on 9/11.
Hmm.
It was a group of pissed off Islamic extremists who exploited the um, security loopholes and
You don't think it was an inside
certain.
job?
No, I don't.
No.
I think there's something to be said in I think it's possible because you have guys like Wesley Clark, or maybe it was Richard Clark, who are running around the White House with a memo in their hands screaming, figuratively, not necessarily doing that, basically saying they're going to attack us with airplanes. I think you might have had a willingness to let it happen in order to exploit it, because they
Right.
certainly exploited the hell out of it. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
And we know they wanted to go into Iraq and eventually Iran. Um, but I think it's more likely a perfect storm of incompetence and a lot of bad will built up and a very false sense of security, particularly in New York. New York is interesting now, man.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to hear more about like your actual experience of living in New York, sans maybe the working part of it. Like,
it,
did
it
you like living there?
I it's exhilarating. It's you're up against in the stew of raw humanity, and in a good way and in a bad way. It's intensely stimulating. It's beautiful. Even when the weather sucks, it's still just a gorgeous city, and a lot of very cool people there. And I'm gonna
How
sound like
long were
such a
you there?
cliche hipster. I was only there for like 2 months.
Yeah, you weren't there
Um,
long at all.
no, and then COVID hit.
A cliche hipster.
So,
Wait, go. How
but
are
yeah,
you a
I don't want to
cliche
sound like a
hipster?
cliche hipster, but
Were you
I
wearing your
really liked.
fucking trilby or whatever?
No, I got a red beanie on and a scraggly beard. Uh, I I really liked Brooklyn. It seemed to have more of a laid back atmosphere. Manhattan is very intense. Um, Everybody's rushing everywhere. There's a lot of drinking and a lot of Adderall that's
Wow.
fueling Manhattan. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it's
Right.
it's it's really a different type of living. You're
And
there's there's no room. You're
they,
just living on
yeah,
top of
you're
life.
almost like fucking sardines, and they don't have. Because I remember people used to come into my bar and be like, "What time do you close?" And it's like 2 o'clock, and it's like, "Really? Well, this is bar in Queens, and it didn't close until 6." I'm like, "That's a fucking different state, lady. Like, I don't know what to tell you."
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I was working the whole time, so I really wasn't able to close any bars down. But I think they have a 4 a.m. But I'm sure they stay open.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, 6 a.m. is not correct. I believe it's something more like 4 a.m. But it's
I believe that it's a 4 a.m. that they push to 6 a.m. because there's more money to be made. Maybe they close the doors and they let the certain clientele in there
in
because there's a
Japan.
bar
In
every
Japan, if
corner.
you don't in Tokyo, if you don't fucking leave, they don't close. That is no joke. Like
Oh my
we
God,
were there
dude.
till like 9 in the fucking morning one time, just fucking
Having,
trashed. Everybody had
having,
left the bar. The DJ was there. The fucking lights were rolling. It was just a whole bunch of fucking jarheads sitting around drinking fucking mixed drinks and shit. And then we walked. It was in a basement. And then we fucking walk upstairs and walk outside. And it was like the fucking sunlight. You were like, felt like fucking a vampire. You're like, oh, Jesus, you know? And then it was like, you look at your watch and you're like, holy shit, it's like 9 in the morning.